Guys are always asking, what is it that I am missing? Like, what's wrong with me? Why is it that some dudes seem to have the Midas touch when it comes to girls while others seem to have the opposite effect? And the truth is that once you guys understand this, no girl who has even a little bit of interest in you is going to be able to resist you. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump inside of your mind. Now, at the core of everything that we do, at the core of every decision that we make, every emotion that we feel within us is our mind. And literally the only difference between the guy who is irresistible and the guy who always feels frustrated, it's not fancy cars, it's not loads of cash, and it's not something like being famous. The difference between these two men is simply what is going on inside of their mind. The dudes who volunteered to hop onto a giant rocket that was set to blast off to the moon did not choose to do so while they were second guessing themselves. These brave men had to be certain that A, the rocket was actually going to get them to the moon, and B, that it was also going to bring them home. Now, at the root of every stupid behavior that we do as men is a little something called insecurity. And something you should know about insecurity is that it never travels alone. Insecurity brings with it self-doubt, a lack of confidence, and all sorts of other nasty things that you don't want inside of your head. And insecurity is like a Trojan horse within your own mind. And the moment that you let it in, it will begin to destroy you from the inside out. Now, as men, we are designed to be strong, and our mind is meant to be free of weakness and feelings of insecurity. And the only difference between the dude who girls can't resist and the dude who's always on the sidelines, never getting what he wants, is his mind. But more importantly, it has more to do with the little Trojan horse that has been hiding inside of it. Now, this metaphorical table of insecurity has a few different legs to it, and once you destroy each leg one by one, both your mind and your life will change forever. Starting with number 1, self-image. Now, for many of us, we feel insecure because of our self-image, or because we think that we don't look good enough. And the good news is fixing your self-image is really straightforward and involves simple things like dressing better, hitting the gym, and taking better care of yourself. But self-image also involves not sweating the things that we can't change, like the shape of our ears or whatever it might be for you. Number 2, inferiority. Now, by far, one of the most powerful things that can cause us to not trust ourselves and therefore give this Trojan horse far more power over us than it should have is feelings of inferiority. But how do you stop feeling inferior? The most powerful way to stop feeling inferior is to stop comparing yourself to other people, and instead, when you do make comparisons, compare yourself with who you are today versus who you were yesterday, rather than with other people. And an even more powerful trick to ease your mind when you are feeling inferior is to realize that things are not always as they seem, and the person who you think has it all has their own problems, their own insecurities, and their own flaws. Now, with feelings of inferiority often comes a false image that we create in our head of other people, and as you know, you cannot measure a person's worth based on one single trait that he or she has. Because as humans, we measure value based on the person as a whole. So whenever you're feeling inferior, remember that things are rarely as they seem. So the guy who you think is better looking than you, or better whatever it is, the truth is that the grass is almost never as green on the other side as you might think it is. And simply remembering this will help you to feel less inferior. Number 3, self-confidence. If you look at any guy who girls regularly write off, the root of basically all of his problems is a lack of confidence. And confidence is a funny thing because it kind of creates a self-fulfilling prophecy for pretty much anything that we do. Because if you don't trust your abilities, other people will sense that and they will generally respond negatively, and when they do this, it reinforces your own belief that you can't do something, and this basically creates a never-ending cycle that completely destroys your confidence. So how do you fix it? Self-confidence is actually really easy to build in the same way that it's easy to become rich. The map that will lead you to the confidence that you need is really easy to read, but it's actually following the map and taking the first step on that journey that people fail at. Now, next up is number 4, and it's rejection. And most of the problems that we have with things like rejection come from our early childhood, when we were most vulnerable and when our subconscious was most open to suggestion. Imagine if when you were little, everyone around you who was supposed to be building you up, like your brothers and sisters and parents, imagine if all these people were actually rejecting you and making you feel like you are not good enough. As you get older, you end up actually believing that you aren't good enough and that something is wrong with you. And many of these beliefs that we have about ourselves are actually totally false. But since they were implanted into our mind when we were too young to even be able to resist them, they go on to have this dramatic effect on our lives as we get older unless we choose to do something about them. Now, one of the number 1 things that you have to conquer if you want to become more of an irresistible dude is the fear of rejection. And while it's useful to know why you fear rejection, it is 100 times more important to focus on simply getting over that fear. And like most other things surrounding insecurity, conquering a fear of rejection, improving your self-confidence, and eliminating the Trojan horse of insecurity within your own head, and like most other things surrounding insecurity, Conquering a fear of rejection, improving your self-confidence, and eliminating the Trojan horse of insecurity within your own head comes down to your own mind. You have to look within yourself and figure out the number one thing that makes you so unsure of yourself around other people, and then you have to fix it. If the thing that makes you extremely insecure around other people is the fact that you suck at conversation and you have to talk to people more. If most of your feelings of insecurity come from being skinny or feeling small and weak, then you gotta hit the gym and you gotta get stronger. Eliminating insecurity at the core is a process of elimination, and it's simply the process of systematically hunting down your weaknesses and your insecurities one by one and facing the fear that is holding you back from conquering them. And after you understand this, most girls will find it very, very difficult to resist you. And with that said, you guys are the best, and until next time, thank you so much for watching.